Shalom. Call Halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors into the apostles, double honors into the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that look like those heathen nations. This is not a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And I have a number of books here that I have queued up. All these books I actually have in my possession in front of me. Well, I am holding a copy of Esau, Edom, which is not listed, but the book is actually here. I'll just put it before the camera. All right, who is Esau, Edom? So, and we're just going to use Esau's information against him. All right, Psalm 64 and 8. Because he kept records of all his escapades and his lies. And it's all coming back to hunt him, which is why we know that eventually they're going to shut down this internet and access to it. As a matter of fact, you might have to get the micro C-HIP, the MOTB, that may be one of the precursors, to using the internet, to even signing on. You might have to have that, that charagma. And so the first book is Judaism and Christianity. And if I have time in this lesson, maybe we'll do a part 2. The next one is this one, Christianic and the Rabbinic Judaism. Christianity, the surprising differences, conflicts, visions, and worldview implications. So the two don't go together. They're actually one against another. And Judaism identifies Christianity, European, Western Christianity, white, what they call themselves white, they're not white, as Edom. But truth being said, the followers of Judaism are also Edom. As a matter of fact, they're Amalek. So we're just going to use their own sources and their own information. All right. And I hope that Dr. James White, Vocab Malone, and Dr. Brown see this, and all those idiot Israelite Christians who follow them. But there is no harmony between Judaism and Christianity at all. Okay. So let's go back to this one, Judaism and Christianity, essays by Leo Bayek. So I'm going to read the back of the book, and it says, these are the many books by the Jews dealing with the substance of Judaism, which are not Jewish books. This only to say that the living connection of Judaism with the world has been broken. That this could never be said of any book written by the late Leo Bayek, and never more evident than in the volume of essays. And this is a Jewish scholar, okay? Also edited and translated by Walter Kaufman, another Jewish scholar, all right? Written over a period of nearly 4 decades, they reflect the continual, vital, and meaningful connection with the substance of Judaism and the enduring challenge that Judaism presents to Christianity. The 5 essays in this book are The Son of Man, in which Bayek traces the development of the concept from its origins with the prophets of Israel until it transformed by the early church into an otherworldly conception. Because it's the Son of Man and the prophets of Israel were from the same bloodline. All right. There were no prophets of Israel that were of other nations. All the prophets were Israelites, same as the disciples. Okay. Including Paul. Paul was a Benjamite from the tribe of Benjamin. Okay. And at the time of the Lord and the disciples, the Israelites had been scattered So the message in the Bible is to the scattered Israelites. Thus says James, the book of James. Thus says Peter. But it says, the gospel as a document of history of the Jewish faith, which explores how the Christian faith began along biblical rabbinic lines, but was diverted by Paul, who introduced into the mystery of the dying and rising God. The faith of Paul, an extensive analysis and critique of Pauline theology, this is ridiculous. Esau loves to label things. Mystery and commandment, categorizing Judaism as a perfect combination of faith in the everlasting presence and devotion to the way of life revealed as a means of consecrating creation, and the last and most trenchant essay, the romantic religion, which hypostatizes, I've never seen that word, hypostatizes the essence of Christianity as a romantic religion, sentimental, fantastic, ecstatic, centered upon redemptive grace, and Judaism as a classical religion in which mystery and counterbalance by command, by faith and obligation, individual salvation by the redemption of history and a submission to the will of God. So that would be your Judeo-Christianity, but the two are actually opposite and in contrast to each other, because Judaism does not acknowledge the Gospels of Yahushua, who is the Savior, even though it gives his bloodline all the way back to Adam, all right, and back to the prophets. Okay, so we're going to go to page, matter of fact, let me grab a scripture first. This is why we must go to the scriptures to get our understanding through the precepts, all right? And the precepts that line up with the subject matter that you're speaking about. This is Psalms 119 and 104. And this is how you get understanding. So I'm going to precept and match up history here, all right? It says, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. So we're going to, bring to an end these false ways. In the book of Romans, let's go to Romans 15 and 4, it reads, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. All right, so we have to patiently read the scriptures, understand them first. First, you have to eat the roll, and then you can filter history through the scriptures, and then you can point out and block out and expose the lies, which is exactly what I'm about to do now, Lord's will. All right. So this is page 81, and actually on 80. So I'm gonna read 80 and 81. It's about 3 paragraphs here, 3.5. The separation from Judaism. Many people wanted a difference to differentiate themselves from Judaism, no less than from Jewish people. The final step proposed by the radical Gnostic movement, which relegated the faith of the Old Testament to the realm of evil, was, of course, decisively repudiated by the church, and its resistance proved successful. So, because the Judaism follows the Talmud, really, but they cleave on to the Old Testament, and it's literally as a smoke screen, all right? Because they're Edomites, they're converts. Jewish people are converts, and remember, to dodge the hijack, they replaced Israelite with Jewish. So because remember, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were Israel, the Israelites started with Jacob, but they were Hebrews, and none of them None of the 12 tribes, none of the 12 patriarchs were Jewish. All right, that's a title and a word that came much, much, much later. Okay, and it's connected to Judaism, which is connected to Babylon, which is connected to the Babylonian Talmud. All right, because the Old Testament forbids you to intermingle it with another book. That will be in the book of the prophets, in the Tanakh, Isaiah 34:16. All right. So it says the church, of course, the decisively reputed by the church as a resistance proved successful, but although the church did not accept it into the canon, it recognizes the epistle of Barnabas, which was composed of a Hadrian, and in effect sets the Old Testament by allegorizing it. The author wants to differentiate, so there's an epistle of Barnabas that I've never seen, but it says and look, and the King James Bible with the Apocrypha is what the Lord gave us, and that's all we need, because it fills in all the gaps. Anything else we need to know, the Lord will fill us in when that time comes. Salakia. You don't want to start, diving into the all these other books. And besides, the book of Yasher and the book of Enoch, for example, the books in circulation they're made up. The authors even tell you that if you look into it. The authors of those books. All right, this is made up stories, and they try to kind of go along with the Bible, but they really don't, because they actually they don't match up with the precepts in the Bible. All right, so those books are fabrications of fiction, and all it takes is a little bit of search to see that. But then people read those books and to try to get deep. You only need the KJV translations with the Apocrypha. All right. And it says, the author wants to differentiate himself completely from the Jews. For him, the covenant between God and the Jews has long ceased to exist. He refers to them as disapproving word. Those automatically establishes a distance. He characterizes them with the epithets, which were in the days reserved for pagans. A similar attitude toward Judaism is evident in the canonical epistle of the Hebrews, which was written after the destruction of the temple. The law of Judaism has become only a spoken word through angels. The commandments are merely carnal and cannot be consecrated. The Jewish priesthood has come to an end, and the true high priest appeared only in Yahushua. I'm not going to say that J word. He alone proclaimed the salvation of the true word. And when the believer is required in the end to go forth without camp, the meaning is clear. The same thing. So you see these confusions. They actually create these confusions themselves. The New Testament and Old Testament are in perfect harmony with one another. Yahushua told you quite clearly that he didn't come to do away with the law, but he came to fulfill the law. And Paul also co-signed to that message. All right. Paul also told you over and over again that the law has dominion over a man as long as he liveth. So these people, that's the fraud which is pushed forth by these two religions and by the seminary schools and whatever. And I don't know what they call the school, for Judaism. I get, maybe it's just called the School of Judaism. I don't know. But the Christian seminary schools don't teach what the Bible says. Neither they follow what the biblical scholars point out in the scriptures. You just go to any Bible dictionary and then started reading it, and then you listen to the sermons that are taught by seminary schools and by Christians, and you'll see that they do not, they're not in harmony. Okay, so first off, we're going to kill this hijacked, because that was an act that happened in the book of Maccabees. Let's get that. First Maccabees 5:3. And it reads, Then Judas fought against the children of Esau in Idumea, at Abarite because they besieged Gaal, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage and took their spoils. And so this happened again later on with John Hyrcanus, and he took the Edomites and forced them to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read about that in the in Who is Esau Edom on page 8. All right, and this in the second paragraph here. The last paragraph. It was not the kingdom of Judah, but the nation of Judeans. This is Jews, but he's got highlighted Judaism. Historically, the Edomites became known as Jews, a term derived from Judea, which was derived from the name Judah, being the royal line of Israel, though they were never Judah or Israel. All right, I say it again. All right, then I told you it was a hijack. Okay, it says, but the nation of the Jews. All right, and then it's got in parentheses Judeans. All right, and then it says historically the Edomites became known as Jews, a term derived from Judea, which was derived from the name Judah, being the royal line of all Israel is royal. All right, but you know he's talking about the royal line with the line of Yahushai. With the royal line of Israel, though they were never Judah or Israel, and that is 100% truth. All right, and here it says during the and it's talking about the Khazars here. During the Titus siege of Jerusalem, Idumeans appeared before Jerusalem to fight in behalf of the zealots who were besieged in the temple, and about 97,000 inhabitants of Judea were taken captive, and the unknown number fled either before and during the siege. All right, because in Babylon from Timbuktu on page 84, it tells you that the slave markets were full of black, swarthy Judeans. We won't say Ish. All right, and the funny thing is, it probably was a lot of melanated Edomites because they were intermingling and marrying actual Judean women, just like the Herodians. All right, the Herodians were actually Edomites. Okay, this is the last mention of Edomites as a people in history. Yet because it changed their names. They changed their names to Caucasians, to Europeans, to whites. And then they started calling themselves Jews and Christians. All right, that's why it's the last mention of the Edomites by that name. All right, it said, yet prophecy indicates that Edom would be an enemy of Israel in the latter times. We're in the latter times now. Remember the hijack. They've hijacked, our heritage, and they've replaced Israelite with Jewish. I met a girl today who was talking about how Jewish she was and all this other stuff, how bad she feels for Israel, and I just kept it cordial and kept it moving. All right. But in the Jewish Encyclopedia, 1904, on page 41, it pretty much tells you Khazars are people of Turkish origin whose life and history is interwoven with the very beginnings of history of the Jews, the converts of Russia. Historical evidence points to the region of the Urals and is the home of the Khazars. All right, and so they converted. It also gives you the same information in the Jewish Encyclopedia. Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 5, 1904, and then the Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 4, 1905. On page 1, it pretty much tells you the same thing. All right. So, and remember, there was the forced conversion through John Hyrcanus. Okay. Yeah. On page 7, it said that The Nabateans now occupied Mount Seir, and the Edomites were driven into the territory of Judah. The Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judites, all right, the Judeans that he spoke of, tribes of, basically, they were Levite priests, all right, of the kingdom of Judah, which was made up of Levi, Benjamin, and Judah, okay? It says, under Judas Maccabees, recaptured Hebron. It was actually under John Hyrcanus when they, that was First Maccabees 5 and 3. But it was under John Hyrcanus when they actually reconquered them again, another portion of Edom, not all of Edom, and forced them to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. And that was the birth of your Jewishness, because these people cleaved to it, and now today they claim to be the actual people when they're not. John Hyrcanus conquered the whole of Edom, not the whole of Edom, that's not true, and undertook the forced conversion of the inhabitants of to basically the law, statutes, and commandments. Remember, Judaism and Jewish is a hijack. All right. Moses didn't give them the laws of Judaism. He gave them the laws of the Most High. All right, which was the law, statutes, and commandments that the Edomites, that the Israelites were supposed to follow. But after this whole thing with John Hyrcanus, all right, then henceforth the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people. See, a section, all right. So, and then the rest of Edom, for the most part, became Christians. Okay. And you could also, now let's look up the word Judaism. Here, the New Bible Dictionary. I said I was going to eventually read that, and today I read a portion of it. And this is on page 631. And it reads, Judaism is a religion of the Jews, in contrast to that of the Old Testament. In any full study of it, it would be natural to start with the call of Abraham. This would be solely as an introduction to Judaism. That's a lie. Abraham, how you get Jew out of Abraham? Abraham was a Hebrew, and he had a son named Isaac. The whole J thing came out of Judah, and Judah's, 3 generations away. So you can't connect Judaism to Abraham. That's a fraud. That's why he said, in contrast, all right? Or why these authors, these scholars. I told you these seminary, or as our beloved elder apostle Tahar says, cemetery schools, because that's exactly what they are. This would be solely as an introduction to Judaism, should be regarded as the beginning with the Babylonian exile, but for the period up to 70 AD, the term is best reserved for those elements which are either modifications or extensions of the Old Testament concept. So they just were doing their own thing, right? And just claiming, they were just doing their own thing. That's what Judaism and Christianity is. In German works, we frequently find the misleading expression late Judaism used for Jewish religion in the time of Hamashiach. It is derived from the theory that the priestly code and history of the Hextuach are exilate or post-exilate and the true beginnings of Judaism. But it is a matter to regard Judaism as the coming into full existence only after the destruction of the temple, except when decalling the phenomena, and continued after the catastrophic to use the term of intermental religion for the period between Ezra and Hamashiach. And that's pretty much a lie. That's just, once again, you go back to the beginning. It says Judaism is a religion of the Jews. Remember who the Jews are, converts. They were neither Judeans nor Israel. In contrast to that of the Old Testament. Why? Because they were following the Babylonian Talmud. All right, that's definition number 1. Then there's a definition number 2. And wow, there's a lot. It's a lot up there. But just to give you the point, the first 2 pretty much give you what you need to know. All right. And then let's go to Maccabees now. And it gives you the bloodline. It gives you the bloodline of the Herodians too. And they're definitely Edomites, from Antipater all the way down to Herod the Great, to the last of them, to Miriam. But the Maccabees, this is on page 721 in the book that you see on the screen. John Hyrcanus and the Hasmonean kings in their campaigns clearly have the ideal of the Davidic kingdom in mind. What's the Davidic kingdom? Is the kingdom of heaven. The Lord tells you that when he sets up the 12 tribes of Israel, not the 12 tribes of Jewish, all right, and he tells you in Revelation, the 22nd chapter, matter of fact, let me just get it. Revelation, I think it's 22 and 18. That he is the (16). I, Yahushai, Revelation 22:16. I, Yahushai, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and offspring of David, and the bright and the morning star. And so the Lord had to re-reveal himself in the Bible, because Christians been told that he's white. He reveals to you in Revelation that he's so-called black, that he has dark skin, that he has woolly hair, that he looks like the jasper and the sardine stone. You know, the jasper and the sardine stone are, you know, brown of complexion, you know, reddish brown of complexion, unlike that of anyone who's pale that looks like a white person. All right, so he had to re-reveal himself, and he's coming to set up the kingdom of you know, he's setting up David on the throne. He said, he just told you he was the seed and offspring of David, and David is going to sit on the throne of Israel forever. So the Lord is actually going to set up his father David on the throne, who is Peter. But, you know, that's a whole nother lesson. All right, because we come back, and basically David came back as Peter. Okay, and he's going to sit on the throne of Israel again, as the Bible says. All right, and it says, John Hyrcanus and the Hasmonean kings in their campaigns clearly have the ideal of the Davidic kingdom in mind, and there are records of some territories that they conquered being forcibly Judaized. So not Judaized, but had to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Remember, John Hyrcanus wasn't following Judaism. He didn't follow the Talmud. He followed the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. These Edomites and these Jewish people, this religion, they're liars. All right. As a matter of fact, we're going to end here, and I'm going to get ready for the second one, but we're going to go into the Rajas Thesaurus here. Maybe I will read some of this. All right. This is 1931. And remember, in the 1959, bastard gives you the definition of fraud, phony, and fake. So, and falsehood. So I looked up fraud and falsehood. Okay. So here is a falsehood, which goes along with bastard. And remember, Zechariah 9:6 says, a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod. Ashdod is modern day Tel Aviv in the land of Israel. All right. So with that's what we're going to pick up with Zechariah 9:6, and we're going to go into the meanings of fraud and false in this book here. So with that, falseness, fraud, phony, bastard. So with that, we're going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam, Yasharala, Abba, Babal. Lord's will, see you in the next lesson.